Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Community Build Initiative Cargo Ship Top 5 Reviews. We just wanted to say at the start of this, we are absolutely overjoyed by all the submissions we've had for this contest. I mean, we had no idea we'd get so many submissions for this. And we all just wanted to say thank you for your patience with this review and participating in the contest itself. As you can see, you've all made it very hard for us to reach a top 5 with all these unique and creative designs you've given us here. And it's been a lot of fun exploring all the ships that you've made for us here. Before we start, just want to say if you're interested how the next event will happen, there is information about it at the end of this video. All right then, let's jump in. Okay, before we start the top 5, I just wanted to add in this one here. This is the Bitsuruzu. I do apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. This was our runners-up for the top 5, and I just wanted to add it because it was very close deciding between us all on if we should do this one or 5th place contender.
This ship had a really nice exterior though. There were parts of this ship that we were not sure about on the design, but overall it was really nice. It was really close to being in 5th place, which is why we wanted to just add this in. So definitely check this out if you're looking at all the submissions yourself, because it's a good ship.
All right, let's move on to the top 5.
All right, so in 5th place we had the NTI Type 1 cargo vessel. So this one, we all agreed that it actually had a very nice design for the exterior, both in shape and execution of detailing. So you can see on the ship already there is a lot of structural elements, layering of hull and everything on this ship that just makes it really pop out in some areas and just makes it feel really real. It's very nice. This also does have a really nice set of interior as well. So it is small, it is a little bland, but it is very well executed with the space inside, as well as the core is pretty nice with the space on hand. We also did quite like the integration of the USD on this ship. You don't see these very often on submissions, but the use of the USD and trying to make it look like an airlock makes it feel very real for the ship, if that makes sense. So it's probably just because it's, sticking out and looks like it could take a beating if it's docking, but yeah. There were some really nice uses of detail. So some of the blocks on this ship are used. The engine array is a good example, where there is different uses of textured blocks like transporter controllers to help make the engines pop out just that little more, which is a really nice use of block types. For some of our dislikes though on the ship, it is overall a very nice design, but it is very disconnected from all the cargo used inside the ship. So you'll find that actually there is no interaction with the forward cargo bay at all. You cannot see, you cannot interact with your cargo apart from the computer console itself. It would have been really nice to see either the use of cargo containers or accessible interior to that side of the cargo bay. Maybe even like a rail door on the front of the ship, or using these lovely red armor plating things on the front as little doors instead. It would have made the ship just feel that much better. It felt a bit like missed opportunity really on the integration of how the cargo is used on the ship, but it is a functional design, so cannot argue with that. As well as that, we did find that the bridge cockpit module, whatever you want to call it, did feel a bit disconnected from the rest of the ship. It doesn't seem to suit as much with the rest of the ship as it is. I'm not particularly sure if that's just the use of grey as the primary colour on it, and if inverting the colours would actually help sort of build it into the ship that more, or if it is just very tacked on. It was a bit mixed opinions between the three of us on that one, but nevertheless, it did feel a bit disconnected on the ship. Other than that, though, it is a really nice design and a prime example of how to use detail blocked with hull and layering hull to make your ship really pop out.
All right, then, moving on. We now have in 4th place the... look, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, but this ship was probably one of the most unique ones that we had submitted. It's just, I mean, look at it. It's very alien looking, fantastic design on it. I mean, some of the points that you're just drawn to immediately, these massive, weird disc engine impulse things, you don't even know what they are. You just want to look at them, basically. A lot of passing on the ship is very nice. The fantastic use of this organic structure on this ship. And even for the size range that the person building this had to work with, they've done a very good job with the size restrictions and just making this ship look as nice as possible in the smallest space possible. One of the nice key features of it was actually at the back, there's quite a large dominating hangar bay area. for the ship, which does make it really feel like it has a sort of cargo ship feel or courier feel to it. And in the back here, it's got an external cargo container that can be dropped. It's got its own little cargo pickup truck looking thing. It's quite adorable. And we also have internal cargo within the hangar bay itself that would obviously fill up. But including that as well, within the ship's interior, it has its own cargo area as well built into the ship, which is quite nice to have a lot of interaction with your cargo. There were a few issues with this ship. Most of it was actually to do with the lighting itself. So the large amount of ice crystal used on the ship in both the interior and exterior. Ice crystal's one of these blocks that is nice in some cases, but when it's overused, it can be quite bad looking, especially the lighting itself on certain blocks. It can make the color isn't very nice. But there are areas on the front with the ice crystal. There is front sides on the top. It's a bit blocky and they're just sort of built on there. It looks somewhat messy on the rest of the ship, which looks very clean. And you can probably change this out by actually doing docked entities. So making the ice crystal a docked entity using wedges and so on instead. Slide them into position and then have fake lighting behind it to then mimic the lost lighting of it being a docked entity. But other than that, as you can see on the outside, there's these wonderful use of force field blocks, just lovely patterning all over the place. Even the turret on the top, just use of force fields to make this very alien looking, turret barrel focusing lens thing. Who knows what it is? But it's just really unique ways of using different kind of blocks in a way that most people probably wouldn't use them. And it's just a fantastic example of a very alien looking style. So yeah, overall, we quite liked this one. There were a few issues, mainly lighting focused, but overall, it's a fantastic example of an alien design and how to obviously go around organic structures in StarMade. Okay, in third place, we have the Orb Head, which is actually a pretty cool ship design. So, starting off already looking at this thing, it has a very interesting shape. Most notably is these just enormous engine pod things that it has 4 of on the ship. They take up a lot of space on the ship itself, and they're pretty much the first thing you want to have a look at. They're very well designed, pretty unique. It's a pretty cool design. I like it. Most of the ship shape is actually pretty nice. It has a nice silhouette. It's chunky, but it works. Right around the back, we see that there is a nice, clear hangar bay area. So obviously Plex doors, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but it's very open, it's very accessible, and it's very nice looking. It's very clear. Definitely gives it the cargo ship feel. If we head inside the ship into the hangar bay, you'll see that actually it is a very creative hangar bay. The walls are a bit bland, in the sense that it's quite dark in here, and it's very hard to see what's going on, especially if you're flying in build mode. But on the inside, we do have some really nice bits of detail that are nice to see. Although they're non-functional, which isn't too much of a problem, there is actually 2 loader-looking bot drone things right at the back of the hangar, which have a rail system on the floor. Even though it's non-functional, it gives the application of it being a sort of a usable cargo loading thing, and it's a really unique thing to see, and it's very nice, honestly. Moving on to through the interior, you will notice that it is actually quite cramped. There is a nice elevator system which has a closing door system alongside it being a functional elevator, which is quite a nice little unique thing to have, but the 3x3 corridors with wedges on the side can make it a bit difficult to navigate through an interior. Most of the rooms are pretty well decorated, but they do have not that much space. Like I said, it is very cramped. It's quite impressive how much interior has been put into this for the size of the ship. It is still very cramped inside, and it'll be nice to see some more expansion maybe to the corridors, either removing the wedges on the lower area so you've got some more space to play with on the floor, or the actual connections between the rooms themselves, which are only 2x1 stairs in the example. Moving back onto the outside, though, you'll notice on the underside of the ship there are these very nice, very cartoonish yellow containers, which are pretty nice and have some very good claw-looking structures to hold them in on the ship below. It's a really nice detail, and they're very visually recognizable straight away. what they are. There's also the bridge on the front of the ship is fantastic. This big, what's the name of the ship really, isn't it? The orb head. It's a very unique bridge design. I'm not too sure about the interior of it. It's a very strange and very cramped. I do like the sort of balcony idea it's got in there, but it can be very hard to move around in character mode, especially in zero gravity, where there isn't a gravity block in there to realign yourself, just in case. Overall, though, it's a very nice ship, and it's a very unique design. It's quite a nice spin on the very sort of cartoonish elements of building. I do very much like it, and I especially love these engine pods and the hangar area with the detail inside. Fantastic little entry. Alright, it does have its issues, but overall, it's a very wonderful design. Very cute, very adorable. Alright, in second place, we have the Atlas Renter Freighter. Now, this one was very fun to explore. Already you can see on the exterior, it has a very vibrant design for the exterior. Lots of glowing components. I mean, straight away, you're already drawn to these spinny things, which are the spinny generator looking things on the side of the ship. These are really nice details to have on your ship. Glowing areas can really draw your attention straight to them away from other areas on the ship, and there is a nice use of them on the ship here. Having lots of areas with higher bits of detail and areas around it that aren't so intensely detailed, so you're not completely overwhelmed by having too much stuff going on the ship's exterior. It is a bit crowded, but for the size of ship, it works. There's a really nice use of slab work on the ship as well, and actually. It's mixed in really well with the wedge shapes, and it doesn't feel out of place at all. One of the main things that I did quite like about this ship was the container design on it. It is a pretty nice, design, and having your ship, or I suppose it's a ship's name stamped on the side of the cargo, is pretty nice. Moving on to the interior, and you'll immediately notice when you do this, it's well laid out, it's spacious. Even by just having a 3x3 corridor space, you have a lot of room inside and you don't feel crowded, which is obviously an issue that was in the orb head, the previous edition. But just having those wedges out the way really opens up that space, which is pretty much the same area that you're using anyway. You'll notice that there is a lot of logic used in this ship. All the doors in the ship are logic activated, and it is a really nice thing to see. As well as this, as you fly through the ship, you'll notice there's a lot of display modules and stuff with interesting stories on it. I must say, for the ship being quite small, the interior is very well laid out, very professionally done, and there's nice amounts of detail and good use of blocks and colour inside. There are some bad points to the ship, I'm afraid, and like the fifth place submission, the ship itself does have a very noticeable area of where the cargo is, but there is pretty much little to no interaction at all with the cargo itself inside the ship. You are limited to accessing the cargo through the controller itself. It would have been really nice to see that cargo maybe be detachable as a container, so you could swap it out. That would have been a really nice addition to the ship. But sadly, it doesn't have that. It would have been nice to see a bit more connection to the cargo itself within the ship. I will say on the exterior as well, it is very well executed, very well done, but the design shape as well is a bit on the simple side. It is a nice design and it is done very well, but it would have been nice to see some variation to the shape, I suppose. I must say that this overall was probably the most fun to explore this ship out of all the submissions we had. It is a very nice design, though it does suffer in the department of not having that much connection to the cargo itself or interaction with the cargo itself inside the ship. And if it had just a little more, probably could have won first place. Other than that, though, it's a very nice design and a very fun one to explore. Okay, in first place, we have the SBS CS. Now, this was an interesting ship when we came into it. I love the fact that we saw a design that just decided to be a box. And this is I just love the bravery in that. You're just making a box. And it's a very well executed box of that, I must say. Immediately you can see that this thing is very interesting looking. On the sides, you're pretty much drawn straight away to these giant dark grey pod things, which I think we all universally agreed are probably some kind of engine thing. It would have been nice to see a bit more clarity in what they are, especially in the sort of the vent areas. We're not really sure what their purpose is, but we're pretty sure that they're some kind of engine system. But they just draw your eyes to them straight away. There's something you want to check out and look at in closer detail. As we go around this ship, they really double down on the box idea, and it's just such an interesting reverse on the whole don't build a box idea. It's how well this has come out for its shape. Immediately you can see on the front there's a lot of windows and areas to see into the ship itself, and it really adds to the openness of the ship. And you must not neglect windows on ships. Sometimes they can be a very nice thing on the exterior to be sort of like a pseudo detail block, in a sense. Looking into the interior from the outside of your ship can be a really nice thing to have. Moving along around the ship, that has 2 USD docks on the front. There's a lot of minor detail bits you can see around here and there that are really nice, like the communication bits just above the USD and on the side and on the front. Moving on to the back, there are some really nice uses of detail here. The engines are a nice design. They're well nestled into the ship. There's a nice bit of depth around them. It's dark enough back there that you don't need too much going on behind it. The implication is obviously applied of what's going on back there. The engines themselves have a nice design to them. They look very nice. It's always nice to see the use of ice with lighting. It always has a nicer, depthier feel to that than just plain old ice crystal. And then you can also use detail blocks behind to make further detail when necessary. You can also see right in the middle of that as well, there's this big red vent thing. And you'll notice if you fly across it, that the vent itself does actually only appear in certain angles. That is a really nice piece of detail to mess around with. Moving on to the interior in this thing, and it is very nice. I must say there is a slight bit too much use of hazard blocks inside the airlocks, but that's not too much of a bad thing, honestly. The interior itself inside the ship is very expansive, and for being just in the build limit, this has crammed a lot of stuff in this ship. The core room especially is probably our favourite between the three of us. A lot of stuff going on here, a nice mix of consoles and areas, systems and stuff like that with this big core area in between. You can really see the use of decorative blocks, so decorative piping. Moving on, and you'll notice that there is a massive cargo bay in this ship. Pretty much the whole middle and most of the front of the ship is taken up entirely by an enormous cargo bay inside the ship, and I can't believe how much space they've managed to squeeze out in this ship. This cargo bay is flanked on the side by 2 gull wing hangar doors, which are a really nice touch. Simple, but they work and they're effective. You may have noticed them if you have a keen eye on the exterior, but they're pretty much seamless on the way to the opening on the exterior, which is a nice touch. You'll notice in the cargo bay itself, it does actually have a control room on the floor above it, looking over down into the cargo bay, which is also a fantastic touch to it. I will say, as you go through the interior, especially on the upper floors, it does get a bit bland. Some of the patterns and stuff like this are just a bit generic. But other than that, it is well laid out and there is a lot of stuff. You'll notice that all through the interior, there's a nice, even use of windows. Even in more internal areas of the ship, such as the cargo control room, there are still windows looking into open spaces, which really makes the interior feel much bigger than it actually is. Cannot understate how cool it is to have exterior near the boundaries of your ship so you can utilize windows. Overall, this ship, in our opinion, ticks all the boxes. So it had a nice interior, very nice exterior, good use of cargo interaction. It ticked all the boxes, though it wasn't a master at any point, in our opinion. There are ships behind in second place, third place, so on, that were arguably better in some aspects than this one, but this one overall shined for the fact that in all the areas that it did, it went out of the way to go for, and the fact that somehow the box design has been able to work on this ship is pretty impressive. Overall, this is pretty much the winner for this contest, and it is a very nice design. Though I must say, definitely check out the top 5 and all the submissions that were done in this contest. We'll leave links to them all in the description of the thread itself on StarMade.
Okay, so before we finish this video, just wanted to go over the results for this competition. Firstly, for us, this was a trial run. We were definitely out of our depth in preparation for this video, and we apologise for how long it took us to get this all sorted. But we will continue to go forward with events like this in the future, because this was great. As for the results, we did have a mix up with one of the ships in the submission with the results. It was an oversight on our side. We had updated the rules for the next event, but we did not decide to disqualify it due to it being our mistake. The rules weren't clear enough, and it was just a mix up on our end. Due to this, some changes to the rules and scoring in the next event have changed, so keep an eye out on that. And that about sums it up for this review. We hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have, and we're looking forward to doing this again soon.